Welcome to Better Business Podcast. My name is Alexi and I'm your host. And today I want to talk to you about conversion rates. Now, obviously, it's a very broad topic if you're going to think about conversion rates in the sense of conversion rates. This obviously can be applied across your website, your sales process, and a bunch of other things as well. But I do want to talk about the websites today and potentially give you some tips as to how to improve conversion rate. But before we jump into that, conversion rate. So a lot of the time people just look at their overall traffic and they go, hey, I get 2 conversions out of 100 people visiting my website, my conversion rate is 2%. Well, it's not exactly an accurate way to look at it because your traffic isn't really all the same. I like to look at traffic as controlled and uncontrolled. Controlled traffic is something that you purposefully send to the website by using things like Google ads or your Facebook ads, or you've got a mean to actually control that channel. Uncontrolled traffic is anything organic coming through, anything that basically gets people to come through to the website for no specific reason. And I think that traffic oftentimes really needs to be segmented. You really need to understand whether it's actually relevant or maybe it's just basically some bots coming through to your website and you're mixing the whole thing up. So have a look at that. If you are wanting to test out the conversion rate, I definitely would recommend that you look into the control traffic more specifically and really make decisions based around that. Doing the whole, change across the entire website and monitoring all the traffic may get you some, strange data. Overall, you'll find that, on average, a conversion rate on the website is typically somewhere around 2 to 5%. Now, obviously, depending on the sort of website and the business, and we'll talk about the different cases in a second, it may differ, but you really want a conversion rate above 5%, preferably something closer to 10. And you'll find that a lot of marketers typically use things like landing pages in order to basically increase the conversion rate. And typically using landing pages gets you conversion rate anywhere from 7 to 50%. I've seen some crazy cases, but a lot of the time it's really because the controlled traffic is specific to the page that's actually been designed. And then you also would eliminate a lot of the distractions from those pages as well, like no navigation, everything around the actual topic would only be present on the website and you isolate everything else. Landing pages can be a lot of work, but at the same time, they're definitely worth it. So if you are considering to improve the conversion rate on, let's say, your Google ads or Facebook campaigns, I definitely recommend, first of all, removing the navigation of those pages, making them really specific to the actual offer. And also make sure that you've got a lot of the other factors in there to support your content. And I'll talk about the content in a second as well, because really there's 2 parts that really make up the whole conversion rate. First of all, it's the copy. And secondly, it's the delivery of your website. So we'll talk about that. But as a quick win, I find that a lot of businesses are always on the lookout for a quick win to improve their conversion rate. Simple thing to do to improve your conversion rate is if you've got a slider on your website, I highly recommend that you remove that slider and replace it with something like an offer, or what we like to call a hero section. A hero section is typically where you have a headline, some value or benefits present, and then a strong call to action. Now, this way, you'd basically be specifically telling the person, what it is that you do, why should they choose you, and then what to do with that information. We typically find that's the winning recipe. It can be fairly simple, it can be fairly complicated, but this is where the whole copy testing really comes in. So let's talk about the copy. I guess the first thing that you should probably split test on your website is the actual headline and the value points as well. Now, you'll find that a lot of the time people, just run with something like, welcome to my website, whereas you could really say something like, trusted providers of XYZ service or affordable or whatever your selling point is, really maybe factor into that headline in order to help with the conversion rate. Having an offer works really well. New clients get, discounts, pensioner discount, no call out fees, whatever that service may be. And the actual call to action, we find that a lot of the time on the website, you may have something like, it could be something like submit a form or something. But if you change that to inquire now or get a free quote, or even better, something like get a free on-site quote if it's for a service business, that typically turns into something a little bit more powerful, and people prefer that quite a lot. Now, but get a quote thing is really quite common on a lot of websites I see for trades businesses. Now, if you think about it, not everyone's really after getting a quote. A lot of the time they just want to ask a question. So you may want to trial that against something like Inquire Now as a call to action on your button. Now I'm talking about that text on the button, which by default says submit. Try changing it to Inquire Now and see what happens, because I think a lot of the time people really actually want to be able to inquire about your service and ask questions before they ask for a quote. Test it out. Now, if you want to spruce up your website even further and create more trust, I definitely recommend adding things like testimonials or reviews to your website. People want to know that you've done business with somebody else before. And look, for WordPress websites, and for example, there's a whole bunch of different plugins that allow you to feature your Google reviews on the site, Facebook reviews, whatever you prefer. It's a good idea to run those to basically help with that credibility. Also, there is a term that a lot of marketers use, trust signals. Now, trust signals is something that allows you to create trust based on other organizations, like badges of, let's say, Trustpilot or product review or something like that. Or even if you're accredited by certain organizations or affiliated with them as well, having those logos on the website certainly helps. Now, if you've got a lot of content on the website, you have to really consider whether all of it is relevant. And if someone may be creating a distraction, this is where you'd be removing it. For that particular reason, navigation menus are typically removed from landing pages, because you actually want to remove distractions. You want people to follow through with the one page and not go anywhere else. Now, finally, adding things like guarantees definitely works very well on the websites to improve the conversion rate, because really you are turning the whole conversation to like, you guys got nothing to lose if you do business with us, whether it's free returns for 30 days, 100% customer service, on-time guarantee, like some sort of a guarantee that really provides a peace of mind. That's really, really important. Now, on the delivery side of things, this is more the delivery of your website. First of all, have a look at your website page speed. Now, I know this topic has been talked about to death, but if you are running a cheap host, I'm not going to mention any names, but you're paying, let's say, $15 a month or something for, chances are your website is fairly slow. Now, this is something that Google penalizes you for, whether you're doing Google ads, whether you're doing SEO. But most importantly, a lot of the time, if things don't load up in time, specifically on things like mobile devices, you're going to lose that particular person. Now, which brings me to my next topic, the mobile optimization. Now, a lot of people are trying to squeeze in everything that's on their website onto the mobile view on their site. And you'll find that on the mobile, the bounce rate, the number of people actually bouncing from the website, and the whole conversion rate typically is a lot lower. Now, people really want to be able to find information straight up. They don't want to scroll. They don't want to basically go through a long page. So your job is to make your pages as short as possible, whereas on the desktop, you can actually add a lot more info. So I highly recommend that you've got your hero section, the offer, the call to action, all above the fold, which is where people don't have to scroll anyway. And, if you could basically do that, you'd be more likely to get more inquiries coming through. And another thing you want to have a look at is obviously those images in mobiles. Are they adding value, or are they basically taking people's attention away or causing a distraction? If you focus on the mobile, and mobile is really something that you should consider if you're doing a lot of social media advertising. I'd say, 99% of people coming from the mobile are social media related. Like in most cases, if you're running a really big paid campaigns, and the bounce rate on that is crazy, because people on social, they don't specifically want to buy anything, or they don't specifically want to do anything. They just want to check things out. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. You're still qualifying that particular audience. You're still capturing their intent, but don't compare Google ads to social media based on that point. I guess what you're really wanting to do is you're wanting to capture the person's details when they visit, or at least create remarketing. Now, remarketing is obviously quite easy. Once you have a pixel on the website, people come through, they visit, that pixel is activated, and then from there you can do your remarketing versus across social media or Google or vice versa. But you really want to make sure that when you capture their attention, everything is relatively simple. Like, you don't want to overcomplicate things. If you are running an ad for one thing, try to focus on that one thing. I've seen a lot of campaigns where people run one ad and then engage people for one thing, and then when people get remarketing or anything else afterwards, it's completely unrelated, or it's very, very general. And finally, I guess when it comes to delivery, see if you can simplify your forms. I find that a lot of the time people go overboard with web forms, and they put a lot of fields in there that they find are necessary specifically for their sales process. But a lot of the time, people, when they see a long form, especially on the mobile, they really give up and they either try to call, or if there's no phone number, they'll go elsewhere if they can't find an email address. That's the reality of what happens with a long form. Now, I get it. There are some cases where it's really important for people to fill out a form, but in reality, you're only looking to get an inquiry coming through, and then your sales team would qualify that further. So have a think about what's required and what's actually going to make things easier. Now, when we talk about the entire conversion optimization, the issue is a lot of the time people look at it from a single instance perspective. So 100 people came to the website, 3 people purchased, or 3 people inquired by submitting a form or made a phone call, and our conversion rate is 3%. Now, it's actually not that simple, in the sense that people don't buy on one occasion unless they've obviously done their homework. They typically require a number of visits to a particular website in order to conduct that purchase. Now, why are they doing that? They're looking for incentives. They're looking for products sold through other parties. They're looking for, they're basically window shopping. That's what they're doing. And I think what's really important is that, you really should aim at trying to capture those people's details as opposed to try to get them over the line straight away. What I mean by that is, let's say naturally your 3 to 5% conversion rate, it could be okay, but if you're paying a lot for the clicks that are coming through to the website, you really want to make sure that conversion rate is higher, or you have a fallback, which is what I like to refer to as opt-ins in this case. Opt-in is where you would grab someone's name and email in exchange for a particular offer, maybe a discount or a free gift or competition or something. And this way, the opt-in conversion rate may actually be something like 10 or 20%. So you'd be actually getting a lot more names and emails coming through that for future marketing. Now, this actually will allow you to change the whole conversion rate and create as a part of a journey, which actually is really where the whole thing gets interesting. Now, rather than trying to get people to inquire or trying to get people to buy, look at it from the perspective of, first of all, getting that engagement. So people engaging with your ad, coming straight to your website, getting them into an opt-in, which is obviously your best option in terms of getting the most people through that. And then from there, do remarketing as per the initial visit, because chances are they're not going to buy on that first instance unless obviously there's been a lot of prior advertising. Then from there, through remarketing, you're most likely to get your purchase. And then from there, you can do an upsell on that purchase once they've actually bought from you. To get other items throughout that process or cross-sell. And then from there, your email marketing would basically allow you to do other sales to that particular buying unit, that person that actually came through initially. I would look at it from that perspective. And if you look at it like that, you've got a much better chance of creating a big database than running things like email marketing that doesn't really cost you that much to get these buying units over the line. I would look at it from that perspective, especially if you're running an online store. If you are running a service-based business, I would recommend running landing pages for very distinct areas of your business and really figuring out the whole 80-20. Where are the leads coming from? Are these ideal, non-ideal? And really focus on what's right for you. And this way, you can actually strengthen the whole process by applying something very similar. You want to make sure that your message is consistent, you're engaging people with that. Then once they come through, if you're able to capture the details, great. If not, make sure that your remarketing gets them over the line. So look at the customer journey as opposed to that single interaction. Hope that makes sense. Well, look, guys, there's a ton of stuff that you can do on the conversion rate optimization. This is a great topic, and I think a lot of you can benefit from this. If you guys would like a free review from our team to do a CRO, which is a conversion rate optimization audit on your website, love to do so. Flick us an email and we'd have a look at a website and come back to you with a few points. I love looking at some people's businesses and how sometimes it's really obvious as to what's something missing, but sometimes I've seen some websites where people have done absolutely everything in terms of split testing or adding extra things, and it could be the fact that they've actually made the whole thing too complicated. It goes both ways. It could be too simple or it could be too hard, which actually intervenes with the whole conversion process. Or the problem will actually be lying outside of your website. It could be the actual online presence. Now, this is something you can do quite easily yourself. Go and Google up your business name and see what comes up on the first 2 pages. If you find that on page 2 there is a product review for your business with 2 stars or something that you never knew about, it's something you definitely need to address. There are a lot of websites that do support customers' trust, and sometimes they're not as obvious, but people will definitely find it once they search. And it may be something that you should actually claim as well, because a lot of the time people just focus on Google reviews or Facebook reviews, but they completely forget about product review, Trustpilot. There is word of mouth. There's a ton of other websites that people actually use. And the worst thing that I've seen is sometimes somebody with a very similar business name in the other side of the world, like somewhere in the US, has gone and done something crazy, and then you pick up all those reviews coming to you, or basically all these profiles popping up that are not related to your business, and then your web trust actually suffers as a result of that. So something needs to be considered like that. I think the whole conversion rate optimization needs to be taken. You need to really take external factors into the equation and look at it broader, as opposed to just, hey, my conversion rate is 3%, based on 100 visits, blah. It's not that simple. But anyway, hopefully, guys, you get the idea that small changes can really make a big difference. And I think that the idea behind the whole thing is to really make your business presented better to the customer, so they get more value, so things are clearer, and that they can basically get help for whatever service or product they need. Anyway, guys, that's a Better Business Podcast for this week. Hope you're enjoying it. If you guys could please subscribe and share this with your friends, that I would really appreciate it. YouTube algorithms in particular really like people subscribing, which would really help. My goal is to get as many subscribers this year as possible. This is our 30th podcast. Wow, I've done quite a few this year. And, as you know, it's a bit of work putting this all together, editing and making sure it's good. Obviously, keeping up the energy as well to make sure that it all sounds good and delivers the right vibe. I mean, I try my best, but obviously it's hard to stay consistent, guys. Anyway, if you got any tips for me or any questions, please comment below. And yeah, we'll chat soon.